Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will discuss the question that Kevin Sheehan presented on his radio show about if the Washington Commanders have the worst defense on paper in the NFC East, because Kevin Sheehan does agree with that statement. So I'm going to break that down, and spoiler alert, I do not agree with that statement at all. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Really close to 8,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. Also, go ahead and follow the Twitter link in the description. Now let's get right into the video. And before you guys go ahead and comment down below that I'm crazy or dislike the video, I do not agree with this take at all. That's why I'm making the video, to give you guys my thoughts on this take. So the other day on his radio show and his podcast, he talked about, Washington's defense and, where people have them ranked around the NFL. And he said that they arguably have the worst defense on paper in the NFC East. And to me, when I heard that, I was like, what? And there's not a lot of people, but definitely some people agree with that we have the worst defense on paper in the NFC East, and they just look at the numbers from last year and they're like, okay, they were one of the worst defenses, statistically in the NFL last season, so that's why, they should be, the worst defense on paper in the NFC East going into the next season. But I think there is a lot of context that is needed when you give that take, because Washington, first of all, if you go to 2020, their ranking was a lot higher than their defense actually was, because they played so many easy QBs. They played Nate Sudfeld in that last game. They played Daniel Jones a couple of times. They played Nick Mullins. They played a bunch of Ben DiNucci, Andy Dalton. They played a bunch of not so great quarterbacks, and that kind of inflated where their ranking was. Instead of being, I think they're the number 2 or something defense, they probably were more like a 7 or 8. And then this past season, they played the toughest schedule in the NFL, and also the toughest offensive schedule in terms of you look at the other quarterbacks. They played Herbert, they played Mahomes, they played Brady, they played Rodgers, they played Josh Allen, they played Russell Wilson. They played all the top QBs except for Deshaun Watson, and he wasn't playing last year. So that really made it tough for them, playing all the best QBs in the league when most teams are playing only some of those. That also makes your numbers worse, makes your defense look worse than it actually is. So that is one thing where I think is a little bit misleading with the rankings last year. Also, one thing to think about as well, they were playing guys so out of position. They played in the first 6 to 7 weeks, and that really brought their, they were dead last or 31st in their defensive ranking the first 6-7 weeks, because they were just Jack Del Rio was not doing a good job. He was playing players out of position. He had Landon Collins playing strong safety when people were saying it for a year. He needs to be playing linebacker or Buffalo nickel, one of those positions, or a hybrid between linebacker and safety. He can't just play strong safety. And they switched him. He played well. Cameron Curl wasn't really playing as much as he should have, and was playing out of position as well. They switched that. He played better. There was a ton of things as well. Kendall Fuller was playing the slot. He was actually better the year before on the outside. They switched him to the outside. He plays better. All that really also had a factor in where their defense was ranked. And one thing, when they were healthy and once they started to play guys in position, and this is a tweet from John Keim, and I'll read it here. In the last 5 games, Washington's defense ranks 8th in points allowed and 4th in yards. They're 21st on third downs, but in the last 4 games, they're 12th on third down and 6th in passing yards. It's what many expected them entering the season, and it was looking really good for them. And then, of course, the injuries hit them, and I think this is actually even before one of the Raiders games, so the numbers even look better, or Raiders or Seahawks, and the numbers actually looked even better than that after that 6-game stretch. They had a 6-game stretch where they played really solid on defense, and even a couple games before that they were playing a lot better, and that was because, again, players were playing where they should be. Landon Collins was not playing strong safety. He was playing a hybrid position. Cameron Curl was playing strong safety. Kendall Fuller was playing on the outside where he should have. And the defense was looking good. It wasn't looking elite, but it was looking very solid. And then, of course, and that's when their rankings started to go up a little bit. And then the injuries and, the COVID cases really started to hit, and they were playing Milo Eifler as their starting middle linebacker. Like, they were playing, James Smith-Williams, Casey. Like, they had one game where they, all their starting defensive linemen weren't playing, which, like, obviously is going to have a huge effect on the team. They had like 2 or 3 games where they had like 10, 12 plus starters out. And then they had just had a bunch of different starters out, and like Landon Collins was out like the last 5-6 games of the season. William Jackson was out. Benjamin St-Juste was out for most of the season. Montez Sweat and Chase Young were both out. And I know some people will say they played better without them. And yes, that is, that's factually correct. They were better when Chase Young and Montez Sweat were out. But I think that's more the guys, Jack Del Rio finally playing the guys in the correct position versus Chase Young and Montez Sweat having a negative effect. Like, they, Chase Young was not playing very disciplined, and that like did have a little bit of a negative effect on, the defense. But I think that if they were to, stayed healthy, the defense would have even been better than it was, because I'd much rather have Chase Young out there than Casey Tuhill. So that is one thing. Like, those guys missed like a combined, 16 games, maybe even more. Jamin Davis was out for a game or two. Like, so many, Cole Holcomb might have been out for a game. Like, so many guys were out on the defense, Matt Ioannidis. So it really hurt the team last year. And, over that last 6-game stretch. And it wasn't only the defense, the offense was hurt as well. But now let's kind of compare. So I told you guys why I think the defensive ranking last year is a little bit misleading to what the defense actually was. And, I think that, like I said, the injuries hurt their ranking, playing out of position, which I guess you can say is their fault. But when they were playing in position, and I assume they're going to keep those guys in the right position this season, they played a lot better. So let's look at the Giants. Like, I think there's no argument that the Giants are a better defense than the Commanders on paper. Like, our defensive line, a lot, in my opinion, is much better than theirs. You got Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the edge. They got Kayvon Thibodeau, who could be solid. We don't know, though. Like, we do not know what Kayvon Thibodeau will be. And then Jihad Ward, I honestly I have no idea who he is. Dexter Lawrence, who's solid, but I would 100% take Daron Payne over Dexter Lawrence. And then Leonard Williams, who had a really good 2020 season. 2021 was solid, but not as good. I probably would take Jonathan Allen over him as well. So, and then we have Fedarian Mathis. They don't really have anyone good in terms of depth behind those guys. Maybe Quincy Roche, but I would take our defensive line over them 100%. And their linebackers, like, I think they're better than ours, but like, is that real? Oh, and they have Azeez Ojulari, who they have him as a Sam linebacker, but like, he rushes off the edge. He's solid. He is solid. But their linebackers don't really impress me. Tay Crowder, he's Like, he had that nice play against us, though, when Kyle Allen was quarterback, and he, muffed it, and he ran it for a touchdown. Blake Martinez is a really solid linebacker, but the thing is, he's coming off, and I think it's an ACL injury, so we'll see how good he is this year. He'll probably be healthy for the start of the season. Like, their linebacking core is better than ours, probably, but that is really not saying much, and it's not even significantly better, which is concerning for the Giants. I mean, I think we'll also, because our linebacking core is so bad, I think we'll probably add another linebacker or two, which will help our depth. But if we don't, we're going to have one of the worst rooms in the league, if not the worst. I would take their corners over ours. Or not, no, I would take, I think their corners are not so great. I was thinking about the Eagles for a second. Like, you look at their corners, they have Adoree Jackson, who is solid. Like, he's a solid corner. After that, who do they have? Cordell Flott, 3rd or 4th round rookie out of LSU. I don't know if he's going to start. Rodarius Williams, he is a mid-round pick, I believe, as well. A couple years ago, Darnay Holmes, their secondary is awful. Besides Xavier McKinney and Adoree Jackson, they got Julian Love starting at free safety. This defense, to me, is not impressive at all. And if we're going to talk on paper, I think no doubt we have a better defense on paper than the New York Giants. So, that's my take. I know some people will disagree. And then now, it's definitely, you can argue about the Eagles and the Cowboys. And, I don't think it's obvious one way or the other for some of these teams. I know some people think that, the Cowboys have a way better defense than us. Same thing with the Eagles. So let's look at it. Eagles defensive line, Brandon Graham is solid, but he's always hurt. But I guess if we're going to stay on paper, we'll count him. Fletcher Cox isn't what he once was, but is still a solid player, and you got Jordan Davis in there to help him as well. Derek Barnett isn't that good. Eagles fans do not like him at all. And then at linebacker, Kaiser White, TJ Edwards, and Hassan Reddick, who's a linebacker slash edge rusher. That is a good, that's not a great linebacking core, but I like TJ Edwards. Like, they definitely have a better linebacking core than us. And if Nakobe Dean plays for them, if he's healthy, he's a good linebacker as well. And then I like their corners better than ours, Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Darius Slay, a really solid corner, and then James Bradbury, another solid corner. And I'm trying to see who's their other corner. They've got Kyron Johnson, Avonte Maddox. Safeties, though, I would take our safeties over them, Kevon Wallace and Anthony Harris. I'd rather have Cameron Curl and Bobby McCain, or Cameron Curl and Percy Butler. So, I think you could argue either way for the Eagles. Like last year, I think they were ranked pretty highly, but again, kind of the same thing as 2020. I think it's a little bit misleading. Same thing as 2020 for Washington, where Washington played a lot of bad teams. So did the Eagles, and they played, Jake Fromm once or twice. Like, they played a bunch of really bad quarterbacks. They played Garrett Gilbert guys, and we still scored like 21 points on their defense. So I don't think their defense is as good as people think, just because, they put up okay numbers against bad defenses last year. But if you really look at it against the good teams, like, they didn't do so hot there. But, you could argue either way. I'm not, going to clown you either way for that. And the Cowboys, kind of the same thing. DeMarcus Lawrence is a beast. You have him. I would take our D-line over theirs, though, just because they did lose Randy Gregory. And here's the thing. If you put if you're counting Micah Parsons as one of their D linemen, then that's different. It's definitely debatable because he had a great rookie year. Like, I think he had like 13, 14 sacks. Like, that is insane. And he wasn't even primarily, like, he wasn't only an edge rusher too. So, like, he was a linebacker as well, and he's still able to put up those stats. Like, he is right now, better than Chase Young. We'll see what Chase Young does, but he had a better rookie year than Chase had in his rookie year. And then they got, Gallimore, who's okay. Carlos Watkins, don't know too much about him. Dante Fowler is solid, but I would take our D-line over them. And then their linebackers, they got a better linebacking core than us. I can't disagree with that. Leighton Van Der Esch is okay. Jabril Cox is a fourth-round rookie from the year, or fourth-round pick from 2 years ago. He could be solid. And then Micah Parsons is kind of that do-it-all guy. And, secondary, they got a solid secondary. Trayvon Diggs, Malik Hooker, Jaron Kearse, and Anthony Brown. They've got a solid secondary. Cannot deny. But I just think that Washington, there's no way they have the worst defense in the NFC East. I think they're 100% over the New York Giants, and then I think it's debatable with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Either way, like, you could say the Eagles' defense is better, you can say the Cowboys' defense is better, but I think you could make a case for either one. And the Cowboys, I also forgot Kelvin Joseph, their rookie from the year before. So, like, Washington's defense definitely disappointed last year, but there was, like, legitimate excuses for them. Like, the first 6-7 weeks, like, they didn't play well, and, like, that was partly because they were out of position, and that is on Del Rio. Like, it took way too long for him to make adjustments. I mean, it took way too long for Landon Collins to move to linebacker. It took way too long for Kendall Fuller to move out of the slot. All these other things. Like, he has to be better this year. Got to make adjustments quicker. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.